There are some things I'll take a chance on, but life is already enough of a gamble for me to put my whole nest egg in the share market. So I take a calmer path. By investing in private credit, I know my money could be growing, not yo-yoing.
From Barangaroo Studios, the AusBiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
Welcome to the COB. I'm Juliette Sarli. Great to have your company on a day where we reset records on the ASX 200. We have not quite closed at those intraday highs, but still a very solid session there. You can see the CBO 200 is up an impressive 1%. The ASX 200 is looking like it's closing higher by about 0.8%. 9,066 is where we are at the moment. So probably around 0.4% or so off the all-time high, but certainly a record intraday high was reached today. And that was mainly thanks to the likelihood of a Melbourne Cup rate cut increasing. So a harder job, if you like, for the RBA, for Governor Michelle Bullock and co, just after she had mentioned in Washington that she thought maybe we could be almost done with interest rate cuts due to the sticky services inflation. But then you had the unemployment rate rising to its highest level since COVID, a 4-year high, 4.5%. I was speaking to Challenger's Jonathan Kearns just after that data was released, and he did indicate that it does make the likelihood of a cut on Melbourne Cup Day just that little bit stronger. And when you look at money markets, it's about a 72% chance now we'll see a cut in November versus just 40% before that jobs data was coming through. Andrew spoke to Sean Crick from ABS earlier. Really interesting to see that it's the youth. We know that they are having trouble finding jobs, and also men getting squeezed as well from the jobs market, with more people looking for work than there are jobs out there at the moment. Away from that though, golden days, the price of gold continuing to ratchet higher. Fresh record high today, 4,218 is where we breached on spot. So continuing to see a lot of momentum for so many reasons. Had a great chat with Roger Montgomery earlier from Montgomery Invest, saying, look, if you're seeing queues outside ABC bullion, that is a sign to him that we're paying too much for a price, or an ounce, I should say, of gold. He thinks it's certainly the FOMO retail tried pushing things higher. Let's have a look though at how some of the golden stocks performed today. And you've got Northern Star there up by 1%. Evolution had a good session, as did Newmont. Henry Jennings reminding me today that was his pick for 2025. It's done extraordinarily well from that $60 level when he flagged it in December last year. Genesis Minerals up by about 8%. Let's have a look at the banks, all looking good as well. CBA coming back after its AGM. ANZ up by 1.4%. Westpac out with an update as well, finishing higher by 0.4%. And Macquarie Group, of course, jumping on that data centre investment. In the tech space, we are seeing a bit of weakness coming through, with the exception of NextDC, which was up by 2.3%. The stocks on our radar, Main Pharma jumping by almost 11% after the Supreme Court of New South Wales ruled that the American pharmaceutical giant Cosette cannot terminate its $672 million takeover of the company. The final decision on the deal now in the hands of FIRB, or the Foreign Investment Review Board. Macquarie, I mentioned there, it's reported to have offloaded some of its data centres in a deal worth $61 billion, shares up more than 5%. Westpac higher after reporting its after-tax profit, though, will be reduced by $56 million due to hedging. Treasury Wine Estate held its AGM today. Now, we know this stock got punished on Monday when it cut its full year 26 guidance. Today, there was a bit more buying coming through, and also they were talking really about their China strategy and whether or not they're going to continue to see demand, particularly for that luxury level. AMP, assets under management, rose 3.6%, shares up by more than 8%. Let's welcome our guest to the COB, Peter Maguire from trading.com, who joins me now. Pete, great to see you. I wanted to get your thoughts on the slide that we saw in the Aussie when that unemployment rate ticked up.
Absolutely, Juliet, and good afternoon. Happy Thursday. Here we are. It came off a little bit of hot steam. It's down around about, 0.5%. And I think that really just shook the market a little bit. And as it says there, it just dived from that nearly 65.14, 65.13 sort of number. But it's bounced back and you're sitting now, as it says there, 64.92. So it's certainly been a choppy day over the last couple of hours.
It certainly has. More broadly, though, and I mentioned this, that the rise in gold. I mean, how are you sort of seeing this momentum? Because I spoke to Citi earlier in the week and their main analyst saying, look, she just doesn't see how you can call a ceiling at this point. But as I mentioned, Roger Montgomery from Montgomery Invest saying we're paying too much for gold at these levels.
Yeah, I know Roger. I haven't seen him for a few years. I hope he's well. I think it's got a long way to go yet, and I think that you probably can't put a ceiling to it. The overall momentum has just been awesome when you're thinking about where we are with platinum and palladium and, of course, with silver. So the gold market, I think 4,500 to 5,000 has got to be on everyone's radar. And 4,500, the way it's going at the moment, it might be there by month's end, Juliet, as far as US dollar. And you've got that 42, 45 on the deck futures. So if we to see something wash out from it, I'm not saying it won't happen, but, at the moment we're extremely bullish, and I'm on the other side because I travel a fair bit and see the world. As far as retail participation, you've only got to see what's happening as far as Middle East and, of course, across Asia and the likes of India and Europe. So, they'll be lining up out of ABC bullion, all right, because I think once you get the big part of the market engaged, there's a lot more appetite now.
Yeah, and and that is another point that Roger did make. Is that sort of the FOMO trade driving it as well? If you see a queue, you join a queue?
I saw Costco, and that was really very much a part of the retail sector in the States. They were buying, and this has been for the last 6 to 12 months. So probably I think the world's ahead of Australia. And I feel as though that fear of missing out, to some extent, but there's a large appetite and people are saying, what is going on with the fiat currencies? Where are we? We've got a very, very strong global stock market and there's something not quite right. So this is where I think people are looking at alternatives and they're seeing gold, and that's the storyline, and you can't argue against it because the appetite has just been awesome.
And speaking of the strong stock market, I mentioned today at one point we were at a record intraday high. We've got global markets at or near highs. Does that worry you that there's a bubble that's meant to be burst, or are we just riding the wave at the moment?
Well, I think we're riding a wave. When you're looking at Japan, it'll be punching through 50,000 soon as far as the Nikkei. You've got the Dow and you've only got to look and see what happens as far as the NASDAQ. It's, 22,600. And you've got an S&P approaching that 6,680 sort of number. So I think the overall run up to Christmas is going to be very strong. I want to see earnings, and that momentum is just don't stand in the road of it. It'll run you over, Julia.
Indeed. And what are you looking at when we focus in on US-China trade tension? Yuan option traders sort of bracing for this to last into 2026. But what are some of the technicals or assets you're looking at?
Oh, well, naturally, as far as, rare earths and the storyline from President Trump and Scott Bessent, I want to see what's going on as far as tariffs, it seems to change every couple of days, and we all understand what happened last Friday with President Trump, and now Scott Bessent's come out and probably trying to make it a little bit more, give it a little bit more taste, because at the moment it was quite bitter as far as China was concerned. So he's sugaring it up a little bit, and I just want to see what happens over the next maybe a week, and whether there's going to be some sort of resolution between the two parties, or are we going to see those large tariffs introduced on the 1st of November? Everyone's just waiting to see, Juliet, because it's a lot of uncertainty across the whole fabric of the US versus China storyline.
Absolutely, and that uncertainty potentially begets more move into safe havens, I guess. Pete, will continue to watch gold. All right, really appreciate your insights on a busy day. Thanks so much, Peter Maguire from trading.com. Getting back to the equity market, the stock of the day was Treasury Wine Estate as it held its AGM. Our experts Grady Wolf from Bell Direct and Howard Coleman from Team Invest joined Andrew on the call.
got growth, limited upside growth potential, weak sales. We've also got the sentiment in around wine drinking at the moment. Like as we were speaking before the show, the younger generations just don't drink anymore. So
no appreciation whatsoever.
No appreciation for a fine wine. And so I can't wait for a fine wine when I'm not pregnant. But yeah, we're just seeing that at the moment. The company even saying themselves that China sales will fall well below previous expectations. That kind of signals that it's not a great outlook there. So it's a tough environment, too many external factors I would probably avoid.
A, there's less drinking. B, there's less opening of so many bottles because you can use the same bottle for a lot longer. It's always had return on equity less than 10%, which means it's never passed our filters in Team Invest anyway. So while I'm pretty sure most of our Team Invest members, in fact 1 year it did pass our filters, sorry. Most Team Invest members probably enjoy the product but don't own the shares and would be highly unlikely to own the shares.
Let's have a look at the market leaders on a positive session. Hub24 had a great day, up by some 9% there. AMP we mentioned there on a trading update, looking pretty good. Genesis Minerals as well, up by an impressive 8% there. We're continuing to see a lot of momentum in a lot of these material players. Gold miners surging as well. I think Genesis was up by 7.5% too, and you've got Bellevue Gold there by 6%. To the downside in today's market, well, some of those rare earths players came off, taking profits after they skyrocketed earlier in the week on China's announcement it will dramatically expand its export controls on the materials. So Aluka and Linus coming under pressure. IperionX down by 7.5%. Eagers Automotive also got hit today, down by some 5%. In the small end of town, Lumos Diagnostics had a good session, up 18%. Lithium players as well, while some of the laggards in the small end of town included, of course, those rare earths players coming off some of their earlier lofty gains. Ionic down 25%, American rare earths off by about 18%. The US government shutdown goes on, but tonight we get UK GDP. The ECB President Christine Lagarde will speak as well, and the Bank of Canada Governor Macklem will speak too. Tomorrow we've got a few AGMs, including RPM Global, Clinuvel Pharmaceuticals, and I think it was a bit of a mover today as well, but pretty quiet in terms of the macro front, of course, on a Friday to round out the week. Just getting you caught up where the local market has finished the day's trade. A 1% gain on the CBO 200. The ASX 200, 77 points higher, 0.9%, 9,068. So yeah, about 0.4 off its all-time high, but it certainly did breach an intraday record high during today's session. A lot of momentum in these markets. We will be back from 9:45 a.m. Eastern to do it all again with you tomorrow. We'll see you then.
The COB is brought to you by Montgomery Investment Management. The world is volatile. Your financial future doesn't have to be. Find out more at montinvest.com.